Hey everybody, welcome to part 22 of our Clone Wars rewrite. We are currently rewriting the character of Ahsoka Tano, and in this video, we'll be focusing on Season 3, Episode 10, Heroes on Both Sides, where we'll have Ahsoka learn there's nuance. The Separatists are not so different from the Republic isn't as good as she thought, but peace is possible without continuing the violence. Thanks for joining us!
Voila! We are good to go.
Ta-da! Season 3, Episode 10, Heroes on Both Sides. I have been looking forward to doing this one for a while, because it's among one of the worst.
Yeah.
Pretty much anytime her and Lux are in the same, vicinity, it's just so bad, because it's I like the nuance that they're trying to go for here, but it just falls flat on its face, and it's just come on, really? Man, oh man. So anyways, in the argument against Ahsoka, we said when Padme shuts Anakin down and tells Ahsoka to come with her, Ahsoka glances back at Anakin with a haughty expression like, that's right, know your place. When Padme suggests that Ahsoka use her status as a Jedi to smuggle the two of them across enemy lines, Ahsoka pretends to be shocked and then immediately laughs it off and happily agrees to misuse her position to break the law. Ahsoka is surprised when she meets Bonteri. You're a separatist. This attitude shows that she judges people largely based on their looks, and the revelation that separatists can be normal-looking people is absolutely shocking to her. Upon arrival at the Bonteri home, Ahsoka immediately snubs Lux when he politely asks if he can help her with her bag, and then she continues to be rude to Mina, even though Padme has been clear that these people are her friends. When Lux talks about how his friends believe the Jedi are bad, Ahsoka offers her looks as proof to the contrary, posing and saying, "Look at me, not so bad, am I?" And when he shortly thereafter offers her the same reasoning, she appears to truly ponder this as a conundrum. Proof again that she uses looks as a basis for how to think about people. When Lux looks at her as per her instructions and compliments her, she rolls her eyes and acts disgusted at him for looking. When Anakin scolds her for her risky and illegal behavior, she immediately deflects back at him, saying, "You would do the same. You do the same all the time."
Lies.
Oh, I believe I already have a quote lined up for...
Oh yeah, I always forget about our quotes.
Fear is a great motivator.
How does this apply to the episode?
It certainly doesn't apply to Ahsoka. I believe they're potentially talking about the Senate passes the thing they were trying to fight against because they stage a separatist attack.
Oh yeah, I guess. But that's dumb. They apply the quip at the beginning to the last 2% of the episode.
But again, it kind of shows they don't apply lessons to Ahsoka.
Yeah.
Right? Ahsoka has nothing to learn. It's everyone around her who needs to learn stuff.
Because she's just oh so perfect, little Miss Mary Sue.
We haven't been paying too much attention to the quotes because they're pretty much all dumb. But I have been kind of thinking about that. Have any of the quips of Ahsoka's episodes really applied to her? Okay, now I'm curious. Okay. Yeah, Rising Malevolence, belief is not a matter of choice but of conviction. Doesn't really apply to Ahsoka. Shadow of Malevolence, easy is the path to wisdom for those not blinded by ego. It does apply to Ahsoka, but they don't apply it to her. They apply it to Anakin. Downfall of a droid, trust in your friends and they'll have reason to trust in you. Again, it doesn't seem to be saying, oh, Ahsoka needs to trust in Anakin, because she doesn't learn to do that. It's more so, it's R2 is Anakin's friend, and Obi-Wan has to trust Anakin and stuff like that, right? And then you hold on to your friends by keeping your heart a little softer than your head. Again, I believe that applies to Anakin. I can't really see how the episode applies that to Ahsoka. We apply it to Ahsoka, but in the Cloak of Darkness, this one does apply to Ahsoka, I believe. But
it's in a positive sense.
It's
propping her up.
Yes. It's saying she did a good thing because she didn't ignore her instincts. Jedi Crash, greed and fear of loss are the roots that lead to the tree of evil.
What the heck? Are they trying to apply that to the Lurmen? How are the Lurmen greedy?
I was gonna say, it was like, you could say that kind of applies to Ahsoka, but because she's afraid of losing Anakin. But then, at the end of the episode, they have her be like, oh, you were right, Master Sakura. If I had stayed with Anakin, we wouldn't have, gotten the help that he needed, right? So she supposedly learns a lesson there. So again, it's like, oh, see, Ahsoka is not going down a dark path. She's better than that. And then Defenders of Peace, when surrounded by war, one must eventually choose a side. That's at the Lurmen. Storm over Ryloth. It is a rough road that leads to the heights of greatness, right? She failed, but she's on her way to greatness.
Wow.
Holocron Heights, a lesson learned is a lesson earned, but she doesn't really learn a lesson.
Nope.
Cargo of Doom, overconfidence is the most dangerous form of carelessness. That was pointed at Anakin very clearly. Children of the Force, the first step to correcting a mistake is patience. At Cargo of Doom, when they lost Bane, Anakin was like, it's my fault, start to finish, right? So it's his mistake that is getting corrected.
Oh my goodness.
Weapons Factory, no gift is more precious than trust. It's saying, Anakin has to trust Ahsoka. He has to gift her with his trust. Brain Invaders, attachment is not compassion. Someone actually left a comment on our channel recently kind of talking about that those are two different things. One can be compassionate without being attached. And so I think that's what they're going for in that episode. I think we kind of took it differently when we did that analysis video. We kind of talked about how she's compassionate because she's attached. That's very clear that, Barriss is my friend. So it doesn't really make sense when applied to that episode, but it's not in a vacuum, the statement is not wrong. But again, it's not a negative thing. It's not something that Ahsoka has to learn. It's just this is what it is.
And then the lightsaber loss quip just makes no bloody sense at all.
It does if you take it as easy can sometimes be complex. If you take it as simple versus complex rather than simple being versus difficult. But it doesn't really make sense because it's what is supposed to be easy about what she goes through there? It's one of those quotes that it's, ooh, this sounds so deep, when it's really not. Assassin, the future has many paths, choose wisely. Again, this is nothing that she has to learn, really. The choose wisely part, you could say, is ooh, learn your lesson. But she obviously does. She follows her instinct and goes with Padme and saves Padme, and they manage to find out who's responsible and etc. So it's all good things. She has chosen wisely. He who surrenders hope surrenders life. Anakin, he who seeks to control fate shall never find peace. Anakin, adaptation is the key to survival.
Clearly,
again,
Ahsoka.
They have to adapt to Ahsoka being with them, and look, she's the key to their survival. Yeah, without humility, courage is a dangerous game. Right? It's Khalifa that has to be humbled. I think that's pretty clear. Well, no, you know what? That could apply to Ahsoka.
Yeah, I think it makes more sense when applied to Ahsoka, because that
dies
whole arc
because
painted
Ahsoka's...
Khalifa and the other younglings like cowards. So that actually applies to Ahsoka, but it implies, because when Khalifa calls her out and is like, don't overestimate yourself, then she's like, oh, I'm not. And then the music in the background is like, yeah, she's not, guys. She's totally got this.
No, I think with this quote, it might actually be saying that no, she at the beginning, she's not being humble. Because that episode starts with, she's like, oh, I can handle anything. And then Anakin's like, don't be cocky, right? So I think it is directed at her. This is the first one. So it's over halfway through, they finally have something that's oh, I guess we should have her learn something.
Wow.
Right?
Except
and then
she
at
doesn't
the end
learn
of the
it
arc,
because
right?
she does
At the end of the
same
arc,
thing
she
later.
credits Anakin, so she learned humility.
Oh, wow.
So there you go. That's up to the end of season 3. Sorry for that little side tangent. Now, we can get on to season 3, episode. Oh wait, no, I have to put our quote. I have a quote. Stupidity is the same as evil if you judge by the results.
The quagmire of war continues.
You must ask the Jedi Council to speak with Chancellor Palpatine.
Don't involve me in this.
A peaceful solution is the only way out of this morass of war.
That's not my role, Padme.
Why are they using such big words in this episode? Oh, the quagmire of war, the morass of war. Like, can you talk normally, please?
Yeah, in season 2, episode 11, she had to define aqua as water.
Why isn't it your role? Aren't we Jedi Knights? Isn't it our duty to speak our minds to advise the Chancellor?
I suggest you teach my young Padawan a thing or two about politics.
Here's the thing. This doesn't make any sense, because Padme is right. The Jedi are peacekeepers. So, of course it would be their role to advise the Chancellor for peaceful solutions to things. And then Anakin's all like, but that's not my role. What are you talking about?
Yeah, no, this makes Anakin look stupid.
But then Ahsoka is just as dumb. Instead of being like, no, why isn't it our role? We're Jedi Knights. We're, peacekeepers. Instead, she's like, we're Jedi Knights. It's our duty to speak our minds to the Chancellor. It's like, no, that's not what being a Jedi is about either. Not that Jedi don't speak their minds or shouldn't, but like, just that's her focus. Like, no, we have to speak our minds.
Yeah,
that's
figures coming from her.
Exactly my point. That's what they want her character to be. Oh, she speaks her mind, And it's like, oh, okay. But then Anakin does kind of have a point about politics, right? Politics are very difficult to navigate. But don't the Jedi already have a place as advisors to the Chancellor, or are they separate? Like, I guess it's not like Yoda goes and chats with Palpatine. Like, obviously Palpatine wouldn't be encouraging a relationship like that anyways, but like maybe if it was kind of like a president from the previous chancellors, like if Chancellor Valorum was like, didn't Chancellor Valorum, like, wasn't he more chummy with the Jedi and kind of would like go to Yoda to be like, hey, what should I be doing here?
I do not recall. I don't think that was shown in the prequels at any rate. Or maybe it's just been too long since I watched the prequels.
No, I don't think it was in the prequels, but I feel like it was actually in like TCW. Wasn't it in like the Bad Batch episodes or the Chip arc episodes that we saw that Valorum like would go to Yoda or something?
No, I think that was in like the last arc of season 6, where they went and met Valorum to get some info.
Either which way, my point is that unless it's kind of standard practice or accepted like that, yeah, the Jedi will go and counsel the Chancellor, like, unless that's a thing, then yeah, you're kind of treading on toes if the Jedi just kind of go whenever willy-nilly to prod the Chancellor in one direction or the other. Anakin is right that there is an aspect of politics to that, and it's not easy to navigate politics.
Yeah, it probably wouldn't make sense for the Jedi in general to swing by Palpatine's office whenever and be like, hey, I think we should do this. But it does actually make sense for Padme to ask Anakin to speak to the Chancellor given his close relationship with him. So it has nothing to do with being a Jedi and everything to do with he's a friend of the Chancellor. That's what they should be focusing on.
But instead, it's just all over the place. And I guess, as a friend to the Chancellor, that doesn't make it his role, but it does make it logical to ask him. But then, Ahsoka comes in with, we're Jedi, we're supposed to speak our minds. But the other thing is she says we're Jedi Knights. She's a Jedi Padawan.
Oh, Ahsoka, honey, I think you forgot your rank again. So what if we just changed it to Padme asking Anakin to go talk to Palpatine because he's a friend of Palpatine's, and then Ahsoka being like, well, we're Jedi, so wouldn't that kind of be part of our role anyway? And then they explain, well, no, that's that's not really how that works.
The conversation would kind of still flow in the same direction if you had it play out that way.
After today's debate, I was hoping she learned a great deal.
I don't understand any of it. I know the Separatists are evil, but all anyone argued about was banking deregulation, interest rates, and, well, almost nothing about why we're fighting in the first place.
War's complicated, Ahsoka, but let me simplify it. The Separatists believe the Republic is corrupt, but they're wrong, and we have to restore order.
Maybe talking to the Jedi Council isn't the role for you after all.
Yeah, so she wanted him to talk to the Jedi Council to talk to Palpatine. So yeah, I would change it to that she asks him, and he's like, no, I can't really do that. And then maybe she should just, well, could you ask the council to speak to him? And he's like, I don't really want to get involved in that.
I just find it weird the way Padme reacts here. Because, like, what Anakin says isn't wrong. Well, it is and it isn't. The Republic is corrupt, but the Separatists went and started a war, so yeah, the Jedi need to restore order.
But bringing about, like, a peaceful compromise would restore order. It's not a, we have to beat them into submission, that's the only way we can restore order. And that's kind of what he's going for here. But, like, just how Ahsoka is, like, you know, oh yeah, I listened to everything that was going on, and it didn't make any sense. It's like, the Separatists are evil. What is, you know, all this banking and interest rates have to do with anything? We just have to, you know, destroy the Separatists because they're evil. It's like, if you're involved in the war, wouldn't you kind of understand, hey, wars come at a cost? There's cost of lives, cost of resources, cost of ammunition, cost of money. There's money involved. There's banking and interest rate, like,
yeah, how does someone her age not understand this?
And, like, I could understand her being somewhat, like, confused, because, yeah, she's not learning about banking, so maybe some of, like, the terms and contracts and conditions, and, you know, maybe some of that would go over her head. But she's saying, I don't understand any of it. I don't understand how these two things connect. And it's like, that's just really, really stupid. Again, this episode is about her learning, oh, the war's not all black and white. But it's like, she should kind of already have that knowledge by now. But then again, everything up to this point has been black and white, at least in TCW's version. I think in our version, we haven't really added nuance to the Separatists versus the Republic, but we have added nuance to her view of the Jedi.
Yeah, I'm not saying, like, completely remove the black and white aspect of what she's saying, but make it sound like she's not completely stupid.
Instead of her being like, oh, I don't understand any of it, like, you know, the Separatists are evil, like, you know, instead of her being like that. Well, no, because she was just backing Padme up about peaceful solutions. So it wouldn't make sense for her to be like, well, it shouldn't be a question. Like, of course we need more money to end the war because the Separatists are evil.
Yeah, it's another point where someone should be calling her out, and yet no one does. Like, Padme should be giving her a side eye, not Anakin. Like, what, did you not pay attention to what I was just saying? So we'd have to either change her earlier line about peacekeeping, or we'd have to change her secondary line about, oh, we gotta beat those evil Separatists. I think it'd make more sense, actually, to change her earlier line about peacekeeping if we're to have the same lesson that they have in this episode.
Because the other thing that she says, you know, oh, there was all this talk about this, and no one said anything about why we're fighting in the first place. And I'm curious what that's supposed to mean.
Yeah, because she seems to have that all figured out. Because how do you go from the Separatists are evil to why are we fighting in the same sentence?
Is she saying, oh, we're fighting because the Separatists are evil? Or is she like, oh, we're fighting to, like Anakin says, to restore order? So it's like, they don't explain what she believes is why they're fighting in the first place.
Well, obviously, because the Separatists are evil. So yeah, this is really, really weird. Again, the writers didn't know what they were doing when they were writing out the dialogue. So yeah, it would be her kind of siding against Padme. Like, oh, well, I don't think negotiation is the best course of action.
Well, because someone in the Senate debate actually says, like, you can't negotiate with those animals or something like that.
Yeah.
So would we want Ahsoka to echo that sentiment? Like, you can't negotiate with separatists, they're evil. But then it doesn't make sense why she would agree. Well, no, I guess you could, maybe we have Padme be like, no, like, you need to see the other side. And so Ahsoka agrees to help to, because I mean, like, they are closer, because they have gone through the whole assassin thing, right? So maybe Padme's like, hey, you know, trust me on this.
Yeah,
And so
I think that'd
their
actually be kind of
friendship.
a fun aspect, because yeah, Padme would be like bringing her along to be like, well, I'll show you, and Ahsoka would be essentially coming along for the same reason, because she'd be like, I'll come along to protect you from those evil separatists, and then you'll see.
Yeah.
And it would
No, that
actually
would-
make her later interactions with Mina make more sense. Mina and Lux.
Yeah. So yeah, we have Anakin be like, no, that's not my role. And then have Padme be like, well, you're Jedi, you're peacekeepers. And Ahsoka's like, well, yeah, but the separatists are evil. We're going to bring peace by defeating the separatists. And then I would have Padme be like, what? Because I would kind of, I would take out the whole, like, Anakin being like, you know, the separatists believe the Republic is corrupt, but they're wrong, we have to restore it. Like, you could take all that out, or give it to Ahsoka. And then have Anakin be like, okay, well, that's a little too black and white, and be like, well, war's complicated, Ahsoka. And then he suggests spend some time with Padme, learn a little bit about politics. And then that's why Ahsoka goes with Padme.
It would
much
make
more
this,
respectful of
this
Anakin. It's
conversation-
still respectful of Padme.
Yeah. The change would cut down this conversation quite a bit, but if anything, that lends more time to the later interactions, the ones
Which
that
are the
actually
mo-
matter.
Because that's where she's supposed to be learning the lesson.
Yeah.
You told me to teach her about politics, so I'm going to.
Yeah, Ahsoka's looks there. So disrespectful.
Like, what is that supposed to be? Is that, oh, yeah, I guess I'm going with her? Or is that, yeah, you told her, so...
Yeah, I think this is her just reveling in Padme telling off Anakin.
I think so.
And it is such a disgusting attitude. Yeah, this show just loves to dump on Anakin.
If only I could talk to Senator Bonteri.
Who's he?
He is a she, a senator in the Confederacy of Independent Systems.
I love how Ahsoka's just, like, looking at her nails and...
I would have her just kind of browsing Padme's office, because I don't think we've ever seen her in Padme's office before.
Yeah, maybe have, like, a bookshelf or something.
Friend is a separatist? One of Dooku's pawns?
The Separatists used to be a part of the Republic. I was close with many of the senators who left. I may not agree with them, but they're more than pawns.
If you think negotiating is the right thing to do, let's talk to her.
The Senate's made it illegal.
Illegal?
They say official meetings would only legitimize the Separatists.
Well, Master Skywalker and I hold what we call aggressive negotiations all the time. It's a shame you can't hold more peaceful talks when you want.
It's interesting because in the end of this episode, Mina and the rest of the separatists are shown to be Dooku's pawns. They're trying to do their thing and actually have a legitimate government and everything like that. But then Dooku, Palpatine, they just sweep in and manipulate things and everybody does what they want. So they're all just pawns. So again, they're trying to have this nuance, like, oh, see, there's more to depth to this than you think. But they're just reinforcing, no, everybody's just pawns and there's no nuance. And
Whoa. What if Ahsoka's the one to bring up the fact that the Senate's made it illegal? Just have her say, well, hasn't the Senate made official meetings between the Republic and Separatists illegal?
And then maybe Padme's like, well, it wouldn't have to be official. And, you know, you have special clearance, so we could travel to a neutral world and then to a separatist system.
But I think it would be more realistic if Ahsoka tried to push Padme away from this idea, like, this is not a good idea. I don't think we should do this. And maybe Padme threatens to go do it on her own anyway, so Ahsoka's like, okay, fine, I'll come with you. But yeah, she has the intent of proving Padme wrong. And
yeah, I
keeping her
wouldn't
safe.
have Padme threaten to do it on her own. Like, I would just have it like, she starts brainstorming, oh, I could probably figure out a way to do this on my own. I won't involve you if you're not comfortable being involved, right? Like, so I'd have it, make it clear that, yeah, Padme's not trying to manipulate her into helping anyways. She's genuinely like, oh, okay, well, if you're not willing, then I'll do this. Like, but I feel convicted to do this. And then Ahsoka, just because of who she is like, well, I want to make sure that you're safe.
I haven't seen her or her family in so long.
Master Skywalker said you should teach me about politics. You two have more in common than you think. It's no wonder you get along so well.
I would want to slot Padme's kind of like, oh, I missed her so much somewhere, because we would want to start building that, like, these are my friends. I mean, she's already said she's my friend, but that kind of, it adds to it, right? You don't want a throwaway line of, oh, we're friends. You want to kind of build on that. So maybe have Padme kind of wink like, oh, besides, this will help teach you some more about politics. And I'd have Ahsoka kind of give her like a really like kind of look like she's cynical about that. Not disrespectful, but just cynical. And do we want to have the Ahsoka kind of like, oh, you and Anakin are, it's no wonder you get along so well. Actually, that line doesn't make any sense. When they left Anakin, it was because Padme's like, holy moly, your views are so twisted. I'm going to teach your Padawan what's what. And now she's like, oh, you have more in common than you think. It's no wonder you get along.
Yeah, it feels like such a forced line, and it's just to...
Or maybe it's
make
because
Ahsoka
Padme's thinking outside the box and, doing things around the back door. Maybe that's what she's referring to is what makes them similar.
Oh, that could be. Yeah, even so, I don't care for the line, and I'm not keen on including it.
I wouldn't mind having something in there somewhere that kind of shows that Ahsoka's picking up on their connection. Because to have her be completely oblivious to it is kind of stupid.
I guess because, yeah, this going through back doors and stuff is a little out of character for Padme, so maybe Ahsoka could point that out
Not
be
really.
like, well,
Her
I mean,
very
like, what
first-
Ahsoka's seen of her.
But Padme was part of what? I forget how we fixed it in the sphere of influence. I think we kind of cut out that Padme was asking them to get involved. Yeah, that doesn't make sense either, now that I think about it, because Padme was suggesting they get involved even though they weren't supposed to be involved. And then when Ahsoka's like, well, hey, I can get involved. And then Padme's like, what? I can't believe they let you teach and just like let her get involved when you shouldn't be getting involved.
Oh my goodness. The writers bend over backwards to dump on Anakin.
So yeah, I would take the line out here, but I'm saying maybe we should find a spot to put it in somewhere in this episode. Let's continue.
Excuse me, is this Platform B?
Platform B.
This way. Ahsoka, this is Mina Bonteri.
I have a transport waiting.
I would just have Padme introduce the two of them, and Ahsoka's a little standoffish. Maybe Mina says hi to her and she just gives like a terse nod or something.
Or maybe have it that like she's looking around, she's watching those droids, she's watching the Bonteri's helpers there. I don't know how those women are connected to her, but obviously they're helping distract the distract the droid and everything like that. But I'd have her watching them, like, are they ratting us out? This, that, the other. Like, she's on high alert. And so then, yeah, Mina's like, oh, hello. And Ahsoka's kind of looking away, quickly looks back. Yeah, just gives her a terse nod and then keeps looking around. That kind of thing.
Lux, come down here and help our guests with their luggage, please.
Why would they even have luggage? Like, what would they be bringing? It's not like
Padme,
they're
it's
planning
so
on
good to
staying
see
or
you.
anything.
And the other thing is there's those two ladies right there who appear to be, I don't know, some sort of servants or something. Like, obviously they work in Mina's household. They're not part of the family. Why don't they take the luggage?
Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah, no, I was just thinking about it. I was like, Ahsoka's behavior here doesn't make sense. Because on the one hand, she's completely trusting Bonteri. I just suggested that at the landing there that she'd be tense. She'd be like, oh my goodness, we're surrounded by separatists and, there's battle droids right there. But in this version, in the original version, like, she's just totally like, yep, no, I can trust these separatists to protect us from those guys over there. I'm not worried about them ratting us out or anything. Like, the pure evil separatists. Like, so she's trusting them. She's like, no, these are Padme's friends, and I can trust them. Everything's fine. I'm not worried. But then at the same time, she's treating them disdainfully, like, you guys are separatists. Like, you started the war, and like, blah, blah, blah. Like, so she's super rude to them, even though she's like, trusting. Like, it's just kind of contradictory.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Anyways, so yeah, having Lux closer to where the ship was landing. Like, I wouldn't have him like maybe on the like just I don't know. I would have him closer. Would we have Mina be like, oh, come take their luggage, while the other ladies over there just walk off randomly into nowhere?
Like I said, I don't think it makes sense for them to bring luggage at all.
You know what? They probably just had them bring luggage for this exchange right here.
Yeah, I was thinking that.
Please allow me. May I?
I can handle it.
Yeah, like, won't let you touch my luggage, evil separatist.
Oh, what is this? But yeah, like with the way we've changed it, that would make more sense.
Yeah, I would probably just leave the luggage, because it's not that big a deal.
Maybe Ahsoka, like we have Ahsoka carrying Padme's luggage, and then when Lux offers to take it, she's like, no, because in her head she's thinking, well, what if they go through Padme's stuff?
Yeah, you don't have to explain why she's saying no, but we've already shown she's like super high strung right now, because they're right in the middle of separatist territory.
Yeah, maybe like have Mina tell Lux to take Padme's luggage, and Ahsoka quickly grabs it and she's like, no, I've got it. And then she, like, Lux kind of gives her a like, what kind of look, and either she ignores him or she stares him down, or I don't know.
Now here's the question. They have a bit of a conversation with Mina here, where Ahsoka doesn't learn anything. And then she goes outside and she talks with Lux a little bit and doesn't learn anything. Would we want to keep that, obviously, except she learns a little bit from Mina and then she learns a little bit from Lux? Or would we want her to spend more time with Mina, less with Lux, more with Lux? Because, like, we're not gonna have any stupid romantic drama between her and Lux, so I don't really see a need to start building that up. But we will have to work out some way for her to be attached enough to him for season 4, episode 14 to work. So I'm definitely going to change some of the setup there. But I think we should have, if anything, more of an interaction, or more depth of interaction for sure, between her and Lux.
As a separatist, didn't you create this war?
Would it surprise you to know that many of the people you call separatists feel the same way about the Republic and the Jedi? Lux's father was like that.
Maybe I could speak with him.
A year ago next week, he was setting up a base on Argonar when clones attacked. My husband fought bravely in self-defense, but was killed.
Excuse me. I think I'll get some air.
Yeah, with the way we've changed it, I think the conversation mostly is fine, but yeah, with her just, whoop, I'm out, right at the end there, no, that needs to be changed.
No, there's other problems with it too, because Mina says Lux's father was like that, not Lux's father is like that.
Oh, that's a good point. Maybe have Ahsoka ask, did he change his mind?
Yeah, I think that would make a lot more sense.
And then she explains that no, he's dead.
And that makes a lot more sense that, oh, well, maybe I could speak to him. Like, she's like, oh, I'm gonna change his mind. And given how she tries to change Lux's mind, I really hope that wasn't the tactic she would try to use on his dad.
Oh my good. Oh.
Yeah, I know. Ugh. Anyways, I like that she catches the was. And then she's like, well, did he change his mind? Because, like, of course he would change his mind, right? And then she's like, well, no. A year ago next week, blah, blah, blah. he fought bravely in self-defense and was killed.
I would have Ahsoka kind of react in disbelief at first, like, well, wait, that can't be right. And then she kind of looks to Padme, and Padme's look just says everything. And so she turns back to me and she's like, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry that happened to you.
I'm not against her apologizing, but like I wouldn't have her be like, oh, I'm so sorry that happened to you. I would just have her be like, I'm sorry, I'll excuse myself. Or
What's
just, I'm
that
sorry.
term called? Oh, a paradigm shift. That's what it's called, right? When you basically, like, your core beliefs are undermined.
A fundamental change in approach or underlying assumptions.
So yeah, that'd be a fair reaction for Ahsoka undergoing a paradigm shift.
Because yeah, she just heard this man was defending himself. Though it isn't like, it's one of those things that's like, he was setting up a base, which sounds like a military base. So it would make sense that the clones would attack a military target before it was completed. And then is that really, like, it is self-defense, but it's also like, well, this is war.
Yeah, that is a little confusing.
I think I would make it clearer that Mina's husband was not military personnel.
Like maybe he was setting up a refugee camp or something.
Yeah, you could have that, but like, I feel like that would make the Republic seem like super bad because they're attacking refugee camps. But maybe you could have it that like he was just inspecting a base, or not even say where it happened, other than it happened on Argonar. But she's just like, oh yeah, my husband was doing inspections when the clones attacked, and he tried to get out. He tried to, he fought in self-defense, but he was killed. And then yeah, I like your suggestion that she looks to Padme like, what? No, like, we would, what? Or maybe if you don't want to get too specific, because then it feels like unnatural dialogue, but like maybe like you have her say where it happened, and yeah, it's not a military target, but like the assumption would be they attacked by accident, thinking it was a military target, like they had misinformation or something like that, because it would make sense that stuff like that would happen to help keep the war going again.
Yeah.
So obviously from Mina's point of view, she wouldn't necessarily accept that it was an accident, because she's like, no, the Republic doesn't care. That's half the problem with them. You could maybe have Padme be like, oh, that was a tragedy. We were fed misinformation or something like that. Padme would know about something like that, though she would have probably learned about it after the fact, right? Because she's not privy to every single attack that clones do, but like that information like that would come to her attention. But yeah, maybe he was inspecting a power station or something, like, because it's a power station that gets attacked at the end of this episode, right? So if anything, you'd kind of have a bit of fitting irony there. Like, it's a tactical target, so it doesn't make the Republic look like super bad for attacking it, but it's not a military target. And so yeah, there would be non-military personnel there, and if she specifies he was inspecting, then again, it kind of enforces like he's not military personnel, and so he was just defending himself, and then he got killed. And then yeah, have Ahsoka look to Padme confirms it with a look, and then Ahsoka's just like, I'm sorry, excuse me, and then walks out. So you get kind of that apology of like, oh, I'm sorry that happened, or I'm sorry that I brought that up, or everything like that. But it is very, still kind of keeping that terseness, that like, okay, what's happened? No, I'm leaving. I'm getting out of this, the inner conflict that this is stirring up in me.
And I'd have her looking troubled here.
You're a Jedi, aren't you?
Yes. Why do you ask?
Before the war, I was always told Jedi were good.
And now?
I don't know anymore. There are a lot of terrible things happening. A lot of killing. And now my friends are saying the Jedi are to blame.
I'm the first Jedi you've ever met, aren't I?
Yes.
Look at me. I'm not so bad, am I?
No, not bad at all.
Oh,
Wait,
this is the worst freaking exchange
how many
ever.
separatists have you met?
What?
Well, I mean, you think we're all the bad guys. But how many of us have you actually met? And droids don't count.
Well, other than military officers like Grievous and Ventress, none, I guess.
Ventress isn't an officer, though.
No, she's a Sith assassin.
You and your mother are the first.
Well, look at me. Am I so bad?
Horrible scene.
Oh, that's how she
Garbage.
learns. That's how she learns that it's not so black and white, folks. It's great. It's great.
Literally everything is wrong. Everything is wrong with that scene.
So she's walking down the stairs. She's looking troubled. He asks, "You're a Jedi, aren't you?" I would just have her say yes instead of "Why do you ask?" I guess I get the feeling that like Lux is out there kind of pondering the fact that there's a Republic senator and a Jedi in his home, and he's supposed to be polite to them. And this person who he just wanted to help, carry Padme's bags just glared at him. Like, that's why he starts with that question. I mean, I guess I don't mind the beginning of the conversation. It's just when she's like, "Well, I'm the first one you met, haven't I? Look at me." That's where it all goes wrong, in my opinion.
Either we can have Ahsoka try to answer him, or kind of reflect back to him like, "You know what, I felt the same way about you guys, but today I'm not so sure."
Yeah, maybe kind of build on her conversation with Mina. Hey, why don't we take some of Mina and Padme's conversation here and give it to Lux and Ahsoka? Because this episode is supposed to be about Ahsoka learning, but like the best part of the conversation happens after she's gone.
So what if Lux asks her, "Well, what made you change your mind?" And then she actually brings up the stuff we had her learn in earlier episodes, where she's kind of seen that the Jedi can be fallible, and now she's seeing that maybe the Republic too is fallible.
You'd have to be careful to craft it so that it's not like a recap conversation, like, "This happened to me before and I learned this." My suggestion was going to kind of be that she says, "What I don't understand is, how you can follow or support, a man like Dooku." And then Lux is like, "Well, he's just the leader of the Senate, but we make our decisions as a group, and our systems are connected. We make sure that we are taking care of everything, whereas the Republic is controlled by corporations and this and that, and the outer planets get neglected and such like that, and the Jedi do nothing to help." And then Ahsoka can be like, "Well, yeah, I've seen how the Jedi have fallen short at times, but we're doing our best," and have her try and support the Republic to an extent of like, I've personally helped deliver aid to systems struggling under the oppression of separatist forces and stuff like that, right? And so they're exchanging these like positives and negatives about each side. And you wouldn't have to necessarily bring the conversation to a conclusion. You could just kind of back like the camera out as they keep talking, and then go back to Mina and Padme, and they're discussing the bill that's going to be passed and how they can potentially stop it.
I would maybe tweak Lux's lines so that they're not so similar to Mina's here.
I wouldn't put them word for word, but I would make it clear, because like he kind of takes over his mother's role later in the series, right? Like he becomes a senator. So I would have it clear that like when his mother is in the Senate, he's there too, and he's paying attention, he's learning. So I would kind of have it be that like he kind of speaks as if he's part of it.
I think it'd be best to have Mina and Padme's conversation be more explicitly political, while Lux and Ahsoka come at it more from a humanitarian angle. Like maybe Lux even talks some more about what his father did, if we want to explore the idea of maybe he helped refugees or something.
Yeah, potentially. Like you could have it that his father was trying to find ways to cut costs for basic necessities so that like the people could still afford those things, finding a way to compromise between where the money's needed, and if you find a way to kind of lower costs for things instead of cutting power from the people to save money for the war effort, then you're able to allocate funds for both because you're bringing costs down for things.
It's not that dissimilar from the speech Padme gives in that episode.
That's what I was kind of thinking
yeah.
of. Yeah.
We just made this episode infinitely more interesting.
And like I said, you don't even have to bring their conversation to a conclusion. In fact, it's better if you don't.
Yeah, because this is definitely like an arc that you'd want to stretch out for like at least a season, I'd say. I think that's basically like the meat of the episode right there.
That is where Ahsoka is supposed to learn her lesson, because the next time she has a speaking role
is right at
she's
the
saying,
end.
oh,
yeah,
I learned my lesson.
Oh, this episode sucks.
And it's not even the halfway point. Like, it's literally just this tiny little like shoved in there, and that's supposed to be her learning her lesson.
Wow.
How many lives on both sides have to end before we see the futility?
The corporate alliance would never allow this.
I'm just thinking of the Onderon arc finale where Ahsoka says to Lux, oh, it's like you once said, many lives on both sides are caught between the Separatists and the Republic. And like at the time I was kind of like, I never remember him saying that. But I think Mina just said it there. So why was she quoting Lux and not Mina?
Does he maybe say it in one of the earlier episodes of the Onderon arc? I don't think so.
No?
We'll have to try to remember to pay attention to that. But yeah, that's another one of their continuity mistakes otherwise. Add it to the list.
This is a democracy, and unlike the Republic, corporations do not rule us.
I was actually because like one of the things I mentioned in the character growth case study is that we never see Ahsoka ask Padme about the corruption in the Republic, even though Padme's experienced it firsthand and could easily point that out to her. But instead, Ahsoka just never asks and ignores all of these kinds of things that hint that there's this corruption and stuff like that. But Ahsoka just maintains her black and white mentality regardless. So I was actually kind of wondering if it would make sense, or there was kind of a feasible spot to kind of slot in Ahsoka kind of either reacting to this or maybe actually asking Padme about something. So we could maybe have her kind of whispering with Padme during the vote. But I feel like it would just be a little too on the nose for her to be like, what does he mean the corporations rule the Republic?
I feel like maybe just a close-up of Ahsoka giving a look, like you can tell she's pondering about everything that's being said. I think that would suffice.
The thing is, this takes place after Ahsoka's time on Mandalore, where they were kind of talking about corruption and she witnessed it firsthand and stuff like that, right? And so if anything, she should be more like aware. She should have more understanding. And like, so when Padme starts saying some of her experiences in the Republic, then it's really eye-opening for Ahsoka, because she's like, oh, I just thought that kind of stuff happened on Mandalore or among the Separatists or whatever, right? Like, I thought the Republic had a handle on this kind of thing. But again, you wouldn't have to like dedicate a conversation starting and ending. You would just kind of have to hint that conversation starts taking place.
Say aye.
Aye.
She almost looks angry.
Yeah.
That's like
weird.
I have my character development script in the works. One of the things I talk about is Ahsoka's face markings and how they kind of gave her permanent angry eyebrows. So even if this is supposed to be a neutral expression, it looks like she's angry because of those angry eyebrow markings on her forehead. But because look at Padme's expression, right? Like her very slight upturn in her eyebrows and her mouth. But Ahsoka, you've got this downturn because of those markings, and then it looks like her mouth is downturned as well. And it's like, why does she look angry that they just agreed to peace negotiations? If anything, I would have Mina shares a look with Padme, and then Padme shares a look with Ahsoka, and they smile. They're like, yeah, this is good.
I don't know if I'd have Ahsoka smile exactly, because she's still kind of on the fence about all this. So I think she'd kind of force a smile for Padme, but deep down she doesn't know how all this is gonna play out. She hopes it works out well, but it might not.
I think the thing is like she would be really conflicted and like torn up about kind of realizing that the Republic's not as great as she thought it was. But I think learning that the Separatists aren't as bad as she thought they were, that would be less of a holy moly, like this blows my mind kind of thing. Like that would be a good, like it'd be good to learn, hey, these people aren't so bad after all. And if she just kind of like, yeah, forces a smile for Padme and then Padme looks away again and her smile drops away, then it's you're kind of left with the like, why isn't she happy about this?
I don't know. I think there's a balance that would need to be struck there.
You really believe the Republic will vote for peace?
I hope so. I wouldn't want to meet you on the battlefield. For your sake.
Oh my god.
Oh, it's so twisted. So what would we have her say after I hope so? Or would we just cut it there?
I would maybe have Lux say like, and then maybe we can meet again. And then she smiles.
I would change her expression at the end there, because like at first it kind of looks like, oh, I'm sorry my friend failed, but then she kind of shakes her head like, well, I knew it was coming.
Yeah, this seems to confirm her stance at the very beginning of the episode.
I'd have her look more disappointed.
And kind of shocked too, because again, like she's receiving these contradictory messages. She met these people, she witnessed them say, we want peace, and then she goes home and they're attacking them?
Yeah.
I'm returning your Padawan.
I'm sorry your talks with Bonteri failed.
How did you know?
We have eyes and ears everywhere, Ahsoka. That was dangerous and careless going to Raxus. Not to mention illegal. You went too far this time.
You would do the same. You do the same all the time.
No,
This
he wouldn't.
is too much.
Maybe so. But I did realize something. The politics of this war are not as black and white as I once thought they were.
And then they end on that. It's so stupid. I think her how did you know line is fine, but I would change the tone so that she doesn't sound so innocent. She's like, oh, how did you know? And more like, yeah, she knew she did something wrong, so she's like, how did you know?
I was gonna suggest maybe instead of asking, how did you know? She at first is kind of like, it doesn't make sense. And then she kind of like, wait. And then she asks, how did you know? Right? So she doesn't catch it at first because she's like, yeah, she's kind of reeling from what happened. And then obviously we wouldn't have the, you do the same all the time. I would almost have her just kind of like, she looks guilty, but that's not what she's focused on right now. So then have her ask something in a meaningful way that shows that she learned something, rather than having her just say, I learned something, and cue the fanfare.
What if, because Anakin's chewing out Ahsoka, so what if Padme's like, well, it's my bad, I kind of forced her into it. She just wanted to keep me safe.
And I think that would probably calm Anakin down.
Maybe Ahsoka brings up the Separatist Senate meeting and she was like, well, we were there, we saw they wanted peace, like I just don't understand.
Because Ahsoka's like, am I going crazy? And Padme's like, no, you saw this, you know what happened, and this doesn't make sense, but like that doesn't change what we witnessed. I think I would have it, yeah, kind of end on that note of like there is hope and there is nuance.
So that was season 3 episode 10, Heroes on Both Sides. We had Ahsoka learn there's nuance. The Separatists are not so different from the Republic, and the Republic isn't as good as she thought, but peace is possible without continuing the violence. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up. Leave a comment down below letting us know how you would have rewritten this episode. Subscribe to the channel and share this video. Also, thanks to our awesome patron, and if you're not a patron, consider joining. You can find the link in the description below. Next up, we'll be starting the Mortis arc, tackling season 3 episode 15, so be sure to join us for that. Next up, we'll be starting the Mortis arc, tackling that's what we'll be tackling. That's
Yeah,
what we're gonna
that sounds
do
good.
next.
Sounds good to me.
Mhm.